Alright guys, today's goal, the learner will understand different ways to collect data. So we've been given data and we've been displaying it in different ways. Now we're going to talk about how would we collect it. Okay? There are two main ways to collect data. One way is to collect it from a group, is to conduct a survey. When you use the entire group, it's called a population. So that's the first way. You take the whole population of something. So if we were doing something with the school, we would be doing it for the entire school. Okay? Now, if you use a portion of a group, it's called a sample. Okay, there's a few methods that we'll talk about, but there also can be biased methods. Okay? So, let's take a look at these sample methods. In a random sample, every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Okay? An example, that's my name, random name generator that I have to call on people in class. Okay? Systematic sample, a rule is used to select the members of the population. If I said the fourth person in every row, or something like that, okay? A stratified sample is when you divide the population into groups and then select from each of those groups. But you select randomly from each of those groups. A convenience sample. Only members of the population who are easily accessible are selected. So if I was doing like a student sample for LCS and all I did was my students, is that really a school sample or is that just a 7th, 8th grade sample? In a self-selected sample, members of the population can select themselves by volunteering. Okay? So let's take a look at the first question here. This says, describe which sampling method was chosen and based on the following. A school newspaper conducting a survey to predict the student attendance at the next sports event. Tell what sampling method it is. Set up a booth where the students can come give their opinion. So that's the one I'm looking at right there. If I set up a booth, the students are choosing to give their opinion. That's that last one we just talked about. That is the self-selected. So interview 50 students from each grade. Let's see. A random sample of every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Nope, not the same chance, because aren't there more students in one grade than the other? So that's not the same. A rule is select members of the population. Maybe. Stratified. The population is divided into groups. There we go. Aren't we dividing the school into groups by grade level? So this would be a stratified sample. Alright guys, go ahead and press pause. Try this last one. Okay? So hopefully you did, and if you needed to, you could have backed up to look at the list here again. Interview every 4 students as they enter the school. That would be a systematic. So because you set up a system. So hopefully things are making pretty good sense right now. And let's go on to the next page. All right. Describe the population and tell what type of sampling method is used. Then tell whether the sample is likely to represent the population and why. A writer for a magazine wants to determine the most popular frozen yogurt flavor among residents in a town. The writer asks each customer at a frozen yogurt shop what their favorite flavor of frozen yogurt is. So, describe the population. Well, the population is residents of the town. Okay. And tell what type of sampling method is used. The writer asked each customer at a frozen yogurt shop. Okay. To me, let's back up. Well, let's just look. Think about all the different ones that you have written down now. We don't need to back up and look. You should have had them written down now. I would say self-selected. Do you guys agree with that? Notice how I haven't written it down. Make sure you're looking at all of them again. Okay? I would say it's not self-selected, but it's a convenience. Because if you want to talk about yogurt and you go to a yogurt store, isn't that very convenient for you? And then tell whether the sample will likely represent the population. Why? I would say no, it's not. Because you want to talk about favorite flavor of yogurt, but you're talking to everyone who's going to the yogurt store, not just a random people. So no, it's not going to be that accurate because they are. So no, because you are in the yogurt store. Okay? A researcher wants to know how many people like nutrition labels used on food products. The researcher divides people into three groups and asks 100 people from each group. Researcher wants to know how many people like the nutrition labels on food products. The researcher divides the people into 3 states and into 3 groups and asks 100 people from each group. Go ahead and press pause. Try to do this one on your own. All right, so hopefully you tried to do this one on your own. So when you see, here's a keyword right here. Divides people 3 groups. Which one of the methods deals with dividing people into 3 groups? It's a stratified sample. But, if we look back, though, we're supposed to also say describe the population. So it says a researcher wants to know how many people, so just general population. So residents of the state, because it said people in the state. So this, instead of residents of a town, this one's dealing with residents of the state. Okay. Now, Do you think this would be good? I would say, yeah, this is great because there's no one that, it's not like he's doing health food people or anything like that, so yes. No one is vested, it's a good word, in nutrition labels. Okay? Alright, let's try another one. Tell whether the question is potentially biased. Explain your answer. If it is biased, rewrite it so that it's not biased. Don't you think puppies are the cutest animals? So, do we think that's biased? I would hope you would say yes. So yes, biased. So it's definitely biased, and it's because they say don't. It's hard to not to say yes to. Don't you think puppies are the cutest animals? How do you say no to that? I mean, so they say the word don't, and then they also, I mean, just that's the big thing right there. They say don't. And also they imply puppy. They also say puppy. Because it's not talking about a specific type of dog or anything like that. It's just talking about animals. So what's another way we could rewrite this question? Couldn't we say, what do you think is the cutest animal? That way the person has to think about it, come up with it. Okay? So look at 7. How many times per week do you eat sandwiches? Does that mean, is that biased at all? No, because couldn't you say none if you don't eat sandwiches? So this is not biased. So this is unbiased. Because it's an open-ended question. Okay? Alright guys, hopefully this makes some sense to you. Almost done. So same directions. Read the question. Is it biased? If so, rewrite it and tell me why you thought it was biased. Bring this problem with you done tomorrow in class. Have a good time.